Yes, Mike Anatovich from Garfield Heights. You were speaking of, like, the city of Youngstown, who has 80,000 people with the capacity for 250,000.
Yes, sir.
And you go there and you move this car plant, say, so to speak, hypothetical, to Youngstown from Columbia County or something. Now, what will this RPI do to help Columbia build their resources so that they will be able to bring the jobs closer to the people where they don't have to travel an hour and a half, like Mr. Perk says, and get the business to move down there, and also keep it in Youngstown and build it? Will they share businesses? Will it be taken from one county? Not taken, but brought from one county.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean clearly. What this does is that when we share tax base, it won't matter where anything goes because everybody will benefit from it. Now, this is not a hockey stop under any circumstances. This is setting the framework for the future. So in Columbia County, Columbiana, as an example, they won't have to change their way of life in order to provide for their tax base because they'll share from what goes on in Youngstown. And if there's something specifically that goes on in Columbia County, Youngstown will share in that, all right? Minneapolis-St. Paul, the city, Minneapolis, was the largest recipient initially when they started their program. They're a donor now. They're a donor. How would you like to have that, Cleveland being a donor? Okay, it can happen. So that's why. Now, at the same time, we know that there are more issues. This is only one element. We also have to have the positive go-to-work attitude. We have to have the right educated workforce. We have to work together and promote our region and not be the worst critics of our region. And we are. Visitors are the most positive. Survey says the local residents are the most abusive, and yet they're here. I'm a cheerleader. Please join me.
I'd just like to add something to what the mayor said. In that 12-county region, about a little over 75% of the area is township. As each of us look at our municipal budgets as to balance those budgets, we need X amount of dollars to make them balance. We're not like the federal government. We can't print money, so we have to have a balanced budget. If you can create the framework and the structure so you're not fighting and luring and tempting one community and pitting another community against one another to get those jobs because the region's not growing, that's what the mayor meant by this revenue model will keep everyone whole. And a story that I tell people is the city of Cleveland, a city that I represent. Back in the 1950s, the city itself, the infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the sewers, it was built for nearly 1 million people. Today we have about 400,000. Of those 400,000, about 100,000 of those are senior citizens. They're on a fixed income. About 100,000 are children. About 100,000 of those individuals are in extreme poverty. They're very extremely poor. About 100,000 of those are middle-income people who are paying the freight, paying the majority of the taxes to carry the infrastructure for 1 million people. So as the mayor said, as Carrie said, if the infrastructure is in place, the roads, the bridges, the highways, the railways are in place, it would make sense for that Hyundai company that wants to come from Korea or wherever Hyundai is from to locate it in a region where you don't have to redo the roads and redo the sewers, but to build it out in Columbiana County where you don't have the sewers and the roads to get there. But if Columbiana County can share in the revenue that is generated from those jobs that come into a region, whether it's Youngstown, Canton, Akron, Lorain County, why duplicate those services? It has been proven that Minneapolis, that model, they're saving about $1 billion a year. $1 billion a year in less infrastructure improvement because of this model that it's in place. We all still have local governments. We all still want to have our local control and authority over land use planning and zoning. That will be there, but it's going to be done in a more cooperative manner. Last week I was in San Antonio for the National League of Cities. And I'll tell you, Mayor, I heard some good news. I sat in a workshop with the U.S. Department of Transportation. They're going to look at MPOs now, municipal planning organizations. Ours primarily is NOCCA. we have a 5-county planning region. Within this 12-county area, now we have 5 planning organizations. There is going to be a push by the Obama administration to get those MPOs talking together and working together cooperatively. And I mentioned specifically the RPI initiative and what we're doing. That is going to start to happen. So don't think that this is a threat on any of your municipalities. This is a way to make you healthy and whole and to create and bring new revenue into your city, because for every job that comes into your community, remember, every new job, here's the baseline, you keep 60% of that new job. 40% goes into a pool and it gets redistributed.
Okay. I just follow up on one more thing too, because that's right. That's a key critical point is job locations, where people are located. Workers and citizens already, myself, we already act regionally. We're just not governed regionally. One of the other things I'll bring up too that will, and we should have brought this up in our presentation, will ring very true with you all, abatements. We spent the entire day up in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We met with a number of different mayors and organizations and the Met Council, et cetera. I don't think the word abatement came up the entire day we were there. They don't offer up abatements for a company to move 20 miles down 480. They don't do it. Everybody loses revenue. Everybody loses when you do that. But they'll do abatements for the Mall of America, something that huge, but they don't hand them out like candy like we have to do here to compete. That goes away. The disincentives go away. So it actually can be, and yes, there'll be other areas of the country who will offer abatements if we need to as a region to lure someone large in, but to give them out back and forth just to move companies 20 miles, that disincentive goes away.